Okay, everyone. Hi, my name is Putri Malik with NPM 200-616. I'm Indonesian. I'm an English education major and I'm a student at Rio Kepulauan University. This is my assignment from my lecturer, Ma'am Aulia Putri. Let me tell you something. This assignment contains first, I have to find an article which I already did. Second, I have to analyze the article, which is find the main idea of each sentence. Each. Third, I have to find the main idea from this whole article. As you can see, this whole article which has 3 paragraphs, so I have to find the right word to make the main idea of this each paragraph. It's not going to be hard. I will going to read this article first just to make my video recording a little longer. Okay, the toaster project. The victory was short-lived. When it came time to create a plastic case for his toaster, Thwaites realized he would need crude oil to make the plastic. This time, he called up BP and asked if they would fly him out to the oil rig and lend him some oil for the project. They immediately refused. It seems oil companies are nearly as generous as iron mines. Thwaites had to settle for collecting plastic scraps and melting them into the shape of his toaster case. This is not as easy as it sounds. The homemade toaster ended up looking more like a melted cake than a kitchen appliance. This pattern continued for the entire span of the toaster project. It was nearly impossible to move forward without the help of some previous process. To create the nickel components, for example, he had to resort to melting old coins. He would later say, I realized that if you started absolutely from scratch, you could easily spend your life making a toaster. Okay, let's start with the first sentence. In my perspective, let's just pass this. In my perspective, the main idea was that wood need crude oil to make the plastic for his toaster case. There you go. Second sentence. This time he called up PP and asked if they would fly him out to the oil with some oil for the project. He referred to Thwaites, so Thwaites asked BP to lend him some oil for the project, which is toaster plastic case. Next sentence. They immediately refused. They refers to BP. I don't know what the BP is, by the way. The BP refused to help Thwaites making his project. It seems oil companies are nearly as generous as iron mines. So let's just say oil companies not generous as iron mines. It's like in Indonesian, like membandingkan. Okay, next paragraph. First sentence. Thwaites had to settle for collecting plastic scraps and melting them into the shape of his toaster case. Now this is the process. Okay, this is the process. Let's see. First we have to collecting plastic scraps. Plastic scraps, like used plastic. The plastic has been used from people, for other people. Not the new one, the used one. Second, we have the melting them into the liquid form. And third, we have to shape them. Shape them uh, to whatever we like to shape them. In his case, he made the shape of his toaster case. That's what his project was. This is not as easy as it sounds. Let's just say it's hard. As you can see, collecting plastic, melting them, and ship them. It's easy when you heard it, when you see it. But the process, the real process, is not easy. Let's just say it's hard for him. He had to try again, and fail, and try again. It's hard for him. The homemade toaster ended up looking more like a melted cake than a kitchen appliance. Okay, now in my opinion, the result is so disappointing. The homemade toaster ended up looking more like a melted cake. Nothing more like a tool. It's cake. Yeah, it's more like a cake, by the way. Third paragraph. First sentence. This pattern continued for the entire span of the toaster project. This pattern, which means the process, not really, like the process of the making, right? The pattern of the entire span for the entire span. Span means like um he tried again and failed, and tried again and failed, and tried again and failed. I think that's it. It was nearly impossible to move forward without the help of someone previous process. It was nearly impossible to move forward. To him, let's just say it's he almost giving up. He almost giving up, but not entirely giving up. Let's just say he's tired. He's tired and rest for a long time. And at the certain time, he get up and working his project again. He still have hopes. He still has a will to make the project success himself, to make the project work without the help of some previous process, without the help from someone, because he's alone. He's alone and it's hard for him. Let me tell you, he's making this project, his interest put no oh what's the right word? He put his interest into this work, into this project, but none of her none of his friends are put interest in his project. It's not interesting for them, so they're not helping him. More like no benefit for them, so they're not helping him. So Thwaites is alone for making this project. Pity. To create the nickel components, for example, he had to resort to melting old coins. Old coins, as I recall, it made from like what, brass, silver, or gold. He had to melt them, one of those, to make the nickel component. So he would later say, I realized that if you start absolutely from scratch, you could easily spend your life making a toaster. Now this is disappointing, in my opinion. He said, I realized if you started absolutely from scratch, you could easily spend your life making a toaster. He said, and I quote, if you sorry, he said, and I quote, if you start from the very bottom of something project, you failed. You failed for your entire life. Is that it? Is that what you mean? Because that's so lame. I mean, what uh what's the problem if you have start from the very bottom and then you fail? You have to try again. Everyone has a will from themselves. A will for live for someone, a live for what food. When you're hungry, you eat, right? You will eat. Uh, it's like telling you it's a disappointment if you start absolutely from scratch. Now, let me repeat that. I realized that if you start absolutely from scratch, you could easily spend your life making a toaster. Then, where should we start then? That's my question. Where do we start if not from the scratch? You have to scratch the plant before making the project of something, right? The bottom. Or is there any other methods that I don't know of? If there, let me tell. Let me know, please. Okay, so the main idea, even though I don't completely agree to this word, it's not the point though. So the main idea was this word. Yeah. Okay, now we have to find, no, I have to find the main idea of this paragraph. Now, from what I learned from school, from Google, basic knowledge, the main idea of the paragraph plays in the first sentence, right? So that's it. And the alternative is threats. The projector is ask someone for help for his project to be work. To help someone, he asks someone to help him. Yeah. The second paragraph is the process. First, collecting plastics while melting them and ship them. That's the process. The process of making the toaster plastic case. The third paragraph is more like a comment from himself to himself. Like journey. After the journey, you comment on it. This is like a criticism, but not too harsh. Not too harsh because it's from himself. That's okay though. Now see this feature? It's more like a dough. Like making a bread. You have to use dough. What's with this? It's burnt too. It's plastic. I don't know what that is. I think it's plastic, yeah. It's plastic. Plastic case. It's not working. I don't know if it's working or not, but it sounds disappointing. I still hate the fact that he said this. I don't know why, but It's not working on my brain right now. Okay, so that's my assignment finished. Thank you. Good day.